Welcome back to Soggy Rods. The weather outside, super windy. Got another windstorm coming. Not a good day to be on the water. So I'm going to show you how I upgraded the hook ties here. Rather than using the little rings, I tied these on with some 65-pound braid. Now here's why I did it. If you grab this hook and spin the lure, you can spin these quite a bit. And I've been finding that I'm getting not just better hookups, but I'm not losing my fish. When they come out of the water and they're splashing and they're flipping around and, you know, just going crazy, I lose fish. Well, this here has helped me retain fish just by tying these hooks on, so when they're up there doing their acrobats, that hook can spin with them. So let's get on the bench. I'll show you how I've been tying these up, and I'll show you one thing that I've learned the hard way on. Something to just be aware of. So when you tie these knots. So let's go. So we're going to do this one here. And one thing I wanted to show you was, let's say that I'm hooked into a fish right here on this hook. And as soon as this thing starts to twist up, because it only goes about a half a turn, it automatically wants to torque that hook right out of the fish's mouth. Versus one that's tied, that thing can just spin, and it actually digs it in deeper. The other benefit, potentially, is, listen to this. Now this one's not been tied. There's definitely a sound difference. So, how do we tie these? Well, first is get yourself some snap ring pliers. It's the easiest thing to do. This Texas brand is awesome. I think probably the best ones I've ever used. And we just zip these things off of here, like so. And then I still need to take this snap ring off of the hook itself too. Then you can save these. I'm going to take this front one off just because I don't want it in my way right now. That one's off, so I've got both my hooks and my bait. Everybody says you really should use 60-pound test or higher braided line. I don't know why that is, to be honest with you, but I'm going to peel off about 14 or so, 14, 16 inches of line, and get yourself some good scissors. These little Rapalas are freaking sweet. I like these things. So we've got our line here. What I'm going to do is just marry up these two tag ends so they're about equal length. Okay, so we've got that folded over, equal length here. I'm going to put it through the eyelet on the bait, and then I'm going to put this through the hook. So I've got the hook and the bait. Move that one out of my way. And then I'm going to take, and I'm going to split this here. So you've got this opened up. It looks like this. What I do is I put my fingers through here, and I pinch that line. And what that's doing is just creating a loop back on itself. So you're like this here. Then I can take my two tag ends and put it through this loop that I've just created. So we're going to go through here. Grab those, and then what I do is I just put my finger here, down closest to the bait, and just give that just a little bit of a snug. Now we've got this loop. Now this is where you're actually creating two loops. You want to put a pick or a drill bit or something through this loop. You can use Allen wrenches, you can use all kinds of stuff. I like this pick, it's tapered, so if I'm tying smaller baits like these guys, I can tie that up in this tapered area, or if I'm tying a bigger bait, I can tie it up in this thicker area here. So I'm just going to put that through here, and then I'm going to cinch that down, and I'm going to cinch it tight. Then I'm going to take these two tag ends here, I'm going to give them a good pull like this, and then And then what I'm going to do is tie a double overhand knot. So there's one, and there's two. I'm going to cinch that down. Get that nice and tight. I'm going to do that a second time. So 1 and 2. I'm going to cinch that one down. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to grab this pick and I'm going to give it a good tug. That's more pressure than a fish would ever put on that thing. Make sure it's good and locked up there. Pull that out. Now, I'm going to take some pliers, put it on the hook, get the tag end out of my way, grab the hook here, and then I'm going to put some pressure on that hook and make sure that that thing is rock solid on there. One thing if I put the pick through the wrong hole, that thing would come apart. And I did it a couple of times on accident. So now I've got these tag ends here. I'm going to go in about here, leave me about 1/4 of an inch or so, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, and just snip them off. As you get better at tying these, you can use less line too. But to start out with, give yourself plenty to work with. It's just easier. Next, I take a lighter. Now, some people do this, some people don't. I do. And all I'm going to do is just singe those back a little bit. So, there we go. Now, I've got that tied on. It's rock solid. It ain't going nowhere. And I can spin this bait. Spins way more than just having that split ring in there. And just like that, we're all tied up. So I've got the front one tied on here, same way. And one thing that you do kind of want to pay attention to is to make sure that the hooks are going to lay on the belly. You don't want it to where they're tied on and that's hitting. And that's just the orientation when you tie it. So you can lay it on there and make sure that this belly hook is going to lay there just like that. Another thing that I did notice with these is as I'm bringing these up to the boat and I can see the action in the water, not particularly this one, more like one of these that you're swimming with, the hooks actually, in my opinion, give it a different swim action. Not the bait itself, but the hooks. As the hooks are moving, to me they look a little bit more natural and they're not so rigid and jerky in the water when you have the snap rings on there. So I personally like it. And my hookups have definitely increased for sure. And my stayed hookups, bringing them into the boat, have increased when I did this. So it doesn't take long to do these. Once you kind of do a couple, the tying, I can do a bait in about 1.5 minutes, so it doesn't take long at all. It goes pretty quick. So I'm doing a whole bunch, you know, on days like this where I can't get out and do a lot of fishing. I'm just upgrading some of my baits. Not all of them, but some of them. And as long as I continue to get better, more solid hookups, bringing more fish into the boat, I'll probably just switch over and just do all my baits to just tie them on. And it's super simple. I'm going to carry some of the 65-pound braid in my tackle box. And, you know, if I see one getting frayed or something, or it's just time to swap out that line, it takes me just seconds to just retie one. So easier than fussing with snap rings, in my opinion. Anyways, that's all I got. I hope it helps somebody out. Give it a thumbs up. We'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.